Hello there, you have reached the end of the course. Now, in this video, I'm going to summarize what we have learned in this course. As you know, a lesson plan is a teacher's detailed description of the course of instruction for an individual lesson. It has an important role in language teaching. Teachers don't have to think on their feet. They build on previous teaching and prepare for coming lessons. Teachers are clear on the procedure to follow. Lesson plan gives teachers a sense of security and confidence, and they provide records for learning and teaching. When planning a lesson, teacher needs to know students in terms of their levels, needs, abilities, interests, etc., and know the content and know the instructional content in order to plan an effective lesson. The essential components of a lesson plan are objectives for student learning, teaching and learning activities, and strategies to check student understanding. In this module, you have learned about learning outcomes and what makes strong learning outcomes, and different methods to write effective outcomes. Learning outcomes are what students are able to do. As you may remember, an effective outcome should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. A crucial part of strong learning outcomes is action verbs in Bloom's taxonomy. The ABCD method, which involves audience, behavior, condition, and degree, is a specific guideline to effective learning outcomes. Module 4 presented 4 commonly found instructional sequences, which are test, teach, test, pre, in, and post stages. Number 3, PPP, and number 4, task-based learning. With test, teach, test, task 1 discover what learner can do in a certain area. Teach is an attempt to teach the learner some of the things he or she can do. Task 2 is to check if learning has in fact taken place. Pre, while, and post procedure is often employed to teach receptive skills. Pre-stage gets students prepared for the listening or reading. In while stage, students do the task to master necessary skills, and in post-stage, students go beyond the text or recording. The third sequence, PPP, presentation, practice, and production, is often referred to as the traditional PPP method to mostly teach grammar for lower-level students. The last typical approach is TBL, or task-based learning. TBL involves 3 main stages of pre-task, task cycle, and language focus. In Module 5, you have known that there are different types of activities in a language lesson. There are controlled and less controlled practice activities. Controlled practice activities refer to activities that are restricted in nature, where the focus is on developing accuracy rather than fluency. Less controlled or freer productive activities involve using productive skill, speaking or writing, in a non-restricted environment that focuses on the development of fluency. In a lesson, after presentation of language items or skills, there should be always activities for students to grasp the language, and controlled practice always comes before less controlled ones. That is to ensure that students have chances to absorb the language, practice with it, and then produce the language on their own. The second type of activities are settling down and stirring up activities. As its name suggests, this type of activity involves a lot of students' actions and movements. Stirring up activities energize students and create a more lively classroom atmosphere. On the other hand, settlers are activities which involve students sitting at their desk and doing the tasks. They are designed to calm students down, settle them in a routine, and to ensure that your classroom is not always a place of chaos. In a lesson, there should be a mix of stirrers and settlers. In designing a lesson plan, teacher needs to be carefully consider selecting and designing activity in order to provide effective practice. There are 7 features teacher needs to consider in an activity. They are validity. Students practice the skills which need to be practiced. Pre-learning. Students have already had some ideas about the language practice. Volume. Teacher should maximize the time students practice with the target language. Success orientation. The activity offers a little challenge for students to do the task successfully. And next one, the majority of students. The activity aims at students of different levels. Teacher assistant. Teacher provides helps while students doing the task. And interest. Students like the activity. Module 6 presented ways to evaluate textbook and ways to adapt textbook, as well as activities. Here are some main techniques mentioned in the module. Adding or deleting content, reorganizing content, addressing omissions, modifying tasks, and extending tasks. Module 7 focuses on how to plan an integrated skill lesson. The most popular integrated skill model is the combination of receptive and productive skills in the same form, spoken and written in one lesson. A more complex integration of receptive and productive skills in one lesson is having multiple sources of input from reading and listening activities before students produce their own writing pieces or perform some speaking tasks. In this module, specific examples from current textbooks are expected to assist teachers in planning their lessons. Also, we have looked at specific units in the current textbooks to plan an integrated skills lesson. Module 8 and Module 9 have analyzed common mistakes among secondary school teachers in lesson planning. These mistakes are taken from authentic lesson plans to illustrate teachers' misconduct in writing objectives of a lesson, designing activities for the lesson, and other mistakes such as planning before getting to know your class, preparing no lesson plan B, forgetting the big idea, or using same lesson plans. For each kind of mistake, we have focused on specific mistakes teachers often make, the negative impacts on the effectiveness of the lesson, and ways to avoid them. Module 5 provides insights into teaching language elements, which are vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar. In teaching vocabulary, it is essential that teacher helps students to have productive knowledge of words. Productive knowledge of words means students can produce it, not only understand it. In order to do this, various things need to be done. In presentation, in order for students to understand both meaning and form, teacher can use a variety of ways to present, namely using translation, real things, pictures, actions or gestures, definitions, or situations. In order for students to use the vocabulary, teachers should provide a lot of practice. The practice can be decision-making tasks like identifying, selecting, matching, sorting, ranking, and sequencing. With decision-making tasks, students only make judgments about words. The practice can be production tasks, those in which the learners are required to incorporate the newly studied words into some kind of speaking or writing activity. In teaching pronunciation, various features need to be taught. 44 phonemes. There are 20 vowels and 24 consonants. Word stress, reduced form, sentence stress, rhythm, linking, and intonation. And the following procedure should be followed in teaching, starting from description and analysis, listening discrimination, controlled practice, guided practice, and then communicative practice. In teaching grammar, there are two approaches. In deductive teaching, teacher presents grammar from rules. Following inductive approach, grammar is presented from examples and through text. In order for students to understand meaning of language so that they can use it in the end, it is crucial that context is provided. Using situation to present grammar is one way to put language in context. The context might be a reading, a listening, or just be a situation. Module 11 reinforces the lesson sequences of pre, while, post for teaching a skill lesson. Moreover, this module presents three main types of communicative activities for skill development. They are information gap, jigsaw, and information transfer. This module has analyzed in detail how to plan a reading-speaking lesson and a listening-writing lesson. These are two ways of integrating skills with a new textbook of secondary level. So, I have just summarized the main points of each module in this course. I hope that you have enjoyable time learning with us and gain something useful for your career development. Thank you and goodbye.